Hello friends. This is Ramesh for CA, right? Today my agenda to deal a problem of each chapter of strategic financial management. Okay, the chapter measures and acquisition. First chapter, I wanted to deal with measures and acquisition. The problem is the market value of two companies, Sun Limited and Moon Limited, are 175 lakhs and 75 lakhs respectively. The share capital of Sun Limited consists of 3.5 lakhs, 10 rupees ordinary, face value 10 rupees ordinary shares, and that of Moon Limited consists of 2.2 lakhs ordinary shares. Face value 10 rupees is 10 rupees each. That is the first content. And then after, Sun Limited is proposing to take over Moon Limited. The free measure earnings are 19 lakhs for Sun Limited and 10 lakhs for Moon Limited. The measure is expected to result into synergy gains of 4 lakhs in the form of post-tax annual cost savings. The possible combined PE ratios are 9 and 10. You are required to calculate first subquotient, first A, in that subquotient maximum exchange ratio of shares if combined PE ratio is 9. Next, second subquotient minimum exchange ratio of shares if combined PE ratio is 9. B, in B, one subquotient maximum exchange ratio of shares if combined PE ratio is 10. Second subquotient minimum exchange ratio of shares if combined PE ratio is 10. This is the question. So the output, what we need to give the output: maximum exchange ratio of shares if combined PE ratio is 9, minimum exchange ratio of shares if combined PE ratio is 9, maximum exchange ratio of shares if combined PE ratio is 10, minimum exchange ratio of shares if combined PE ratio is 10. This is the output. For getting of this output, we need to give some information. Some input data is required. What is input data given here? Market value of both companies, Sun Limited 175 lakhs, Moon Limited 75 lakhs. Total market value of firm value 175 lakhs plus 75 lakhs, total 250 lakhs. Next, here given the existing number of equity shares for Moon Limited and for Sun Limited. Sun Limited 3,50,000 equity shares, 10 rupees face value, and also for Moon Limited 2,20,000 existing equity shares, 10 rupees face value. First of all, next pre-merger earnings 19 lakhs for Sun Limited, 10 lakhs for Moon Limited. After merging, the synergy benefit, how much got? 4 lakhs. This is the detail. Next, here the data given: market value and pre-merger earnings, synergy benefit, PE combined ratio, so and so. This is the detail. So how you approach the problem to solve the problem? Okay, first, if PE ratio 9, if PE ratio 9, next PE ratio 10, combined PE ratio 9, 10. Okay, pre-merger earnings 33 lakhs for Sun Limited and 10, pre-merger earnings for 19 lakhs for Sun Limited, 10 lakhs for Moon Limited. Next, synergy benefit 4 lakhs. Maximum exchange ratio, minimum exchange ratio. When total synergy benefit taken by Moon Limited after merging. So next that is minimum exchange ratio, minimum share exchange ratio to the Sun Limited. Next, when benefit synergy benefit after merging not taken by Moon Limited. Here Moon Limited, that is a acquiring company. Sun Limited is a acquiring company. Moon Limited is a target company. Sun Limited acquired Moon Limited. So Sun Limited is a acquiring company. Moon Limited is a target company in technical terms. Okay. When the total benefit is taken by acquiring company, then we got the output, that is a minimum share exchange ratio in case of 9, in case of 10. When total benefit total synergy benefit is not taken by acquiring company, total benefit given to target company, then maximum share exchange ratio, then we will got the output maximum share exchange ratio. Okay, first of all, the benefit, how much benefit come through solving the problem. First of all, PE ratio, what we know, the formula for PE ratio, market price per share for earning per share, that is PE ratio. Suppose PE ratio already given, combined PE ratio 9, that is 9 times, 9 times means market price per share covers 9 times earnings per share. 9 times earnings per share covered market price. That is the meaning. So already given PE ratio 9. Now pre-measured earnings for 19 lakhs for Sun Limited and 10 lakhs for Moon Limited. Total how much? 29 lakhs. Synergy benefit 4 lakhs. Total 33 lakhs. Total earnings after merging 33 lakhs. Now market value of firm after merging, earnings into P ratio, 33 lakhs into P ratio in case of 9. So 33 into 9, 297 lakhs. 297 lakhs. In case combined P ratio 9. In case combined P ratio 10, what is the market value of firm after merging? 33 lakhs into 10, that is 330 lakhs. Okay, after merging, okay, 330 lakhs after merging. Okay, before combined market value of firm given 175 lakhs and 75 total 250 lakhs. Synergy benefit 297 minus 250, 47 lakhs, that is the benefit, and 330 minus 250, that is 80 lakhs benefit. When total 47 lakhs benefit is given to the shareholders of Sun Limited. Sun Limited existing shareholders 3.5 lakhs. So 47 by 3.5, 13 point, the calculator showing 13.42857. So we need to round off 13.43. Next 80 lakhs by 3.5, 22.85. So 22.86. This is the benefit given to shareholders of Sun Limited. So revised market price per share of Sun Limited. But you are not given directly the market price per share of Sun Limited and Moon Limited is not given. So we need to find out the market price per share of Sun Limited and Moon Limited. Here total market value of Sun Limited given 175 lakhs. That is in terms of total. For we need to find out market price per share for every equity share. So existing equity shareholders 3.5 lakhs. So 175 by 3.5 lakhs. So 50 rupees is a market price per share to Sun Limited, and same thing 75 by 2.2, that is 34.09. This is the market price per share for Moon Limited. Okay, right now. Now we need to find out revised market price per share. Already existing market price share 50 rupees and benefit 13.43. So revised market price per share 63.43 for Sun Limited, and remaining 34.09 plus 22.86, 56.95. This is the market price per share, revised market price per share to per share. In case P combined P ratio is 1 minute. Sorry, revised market price per share in case if P combined ratio 10, so 50 plus 22.86. So how much? 72.86. 72.86. This is the market price per share if to Sun Limited. In case of combined PE ratio 70, combined PE ratio is 10. Okay. Now next benefit 47 lakhs benefit, 80 lakhs per. If 47 lakh benefit is totally given to target company. Target company, how many number of existing shareholders? 2.2 lakhs. Then 47 by 2.2, 21.36. 21.36. 80 by 2.2, 36.36. 36.36. Okay. Now revised market price per share to Moon Limited. Moon Limited already existing 34.09. 34.09 plus 21.36. Here 55.45. Next 34.09 plus 36.36. 70.45. 70.45. Okay. Now now we find out revised market price per se to Moon Limited and Sun Limited. We have the input. Then what is the requirement of question? Maximum share exchange ratio of shares. So now the market price per share before market price per share of target firm, market price per share of acquiring firm. So target firm, if combined P ratio 9, so 34 point target for market price per share, because because benefit is not given to target firm. So that's why existing market price per share of target firm 34.09 upon 60. Revised market price share of Sun Limited 63.43. So 34.09 by 63.43, 0.537. So 0.537. So we need to write 0.54. Okay. Next, this is if combined P ratio 9. If combined P ratio 10, then 34.09 by revised market 72.86. 72.86. 34.09 by 72.86. 0.467. So 0.47. This is the minimum share exchange ratio. Minimum share exchange ratio 0.4. If combined P ratio 9, 0.47. The minimum share exchange ratio is 0.47. If combined P ratio is 10, here we find out minimum share exchange ratios. Now maximum share exchange ratio. Revised market price share of Moon Limited 55.45. So before existing market price share of Sun Limited 50 rupees. So 55.45 by 50, 1.109 in case of combined PE ratio 9, 70.45 by 50, 1.409. This is maximum share exchange ratio. Maximum share exchange ratio. This is the solution to the problem. Next chapter I am going to corporate valuation. Corporate valuation. Here the problem is the following details pertains to XYZ Limited engaged in software consultancy business as on 31st December 2010. Income details given here. First of all, income statement. Income from consultancy 935 millions. Interest on loan. Earnings before interest and tax 180 millions. Interest on loan 18 millions. Earnings before and earnings before tax 162 million. Tax at 35% 56.7 million. Net amount 105.3. That is earnings after tax. Next, balance sheet details given. Equity share capital 100 millions, 10 rupees face value. Reserves and surplus 325 million. Loans 180 million. Current liabilities 180 million. Assets side land and buildings 200 millions. Computers and software 295 millions. Current assets 290. So total, the balance sheet total value 785 millions. Here asking the question, calculate earnings, economic value added, and second subsection market value added. Assuming that weighted average cost of capital is 12%, the shares are currently quoted at 50 rupees each. Currently market value of share 50 rupees each. This is the question. Here what we need to give the output, economic value added. What is the economic value added to the XYZ Limited, and also market value added to the XYZ Limited. We need to give the output this. For getting of this output, we extract the input. We extract input. Input details given here. Income from consultancy 935 lakhs, 935 millions. EBIT, interest on loan, EBT, equity share capital, reserves and surplus, loans, current liabilities, assets, land and building, software, current assets, weighted average cost of capital, overall capital, that is 12%. Currently market value of share 50 rupees each. This is the input details. So what is required? What is relevant information? What is irrelevant information? We need to segregate what is relevant, what is irrelevant. Then here economic value added. We know economic value added in excess of the amount in excess of weighted average cost of capital amount. That is economic value added. We can say in the form of formula, net operating profit after tax. Net operating profit after tax minus invested capital or capital employed into weighted average cost of capital. Weighted average cost of capital. Capital employed nothing but equity funds and debt funds. Equity funds and debt funds. Equity funds and debt funds. Okay. Here equity funds given. Equity share capital 100 millions. Reserves and surplus 325 million. Total, that is equity funds, and debt funds 180 million. Total 605 millions. Total weighted average cost of capital 12%. So 605 into 12%, 72.6. This is interest on capital employed. 72.6. Here we need to find out net operating profit after tax. Net operating profit after tax net operating profit after tax, that is net operating profit EBIT into 1 minus tax. EBIT given here, how much? 180 lakhs. 1 minus tax, the percentage 35%, so 0.35. So 180 into 0.65, 117. 117 minus 7, 2.6, 44.6, 44.4. This is the economic value added. This is the economic value added. Okay. Next element, we need to give the answer. Market value added. Market value added, the difference of market value of firm and book value of firm. Book value of firm already we know how much amount, 605, but market value of firm we don't know. But here given the current market value of share 50 rupees each. So already existing number of equity shares 10 million equity shares. 10 million into 50, that is market value of firm. Why should not you consider reserves and surplus? Because while calculating, while giving the information in the form of market value of market price per share, that is already considered. Everything is considered. Next, don't you consider again reserves and surplus to market value. Okay, 500. Next, loans 180. So total market value of firm 500 plus 180, 680 lakhs. So difference of 680 lakhs and 605, that is 75 lakhs. This is the market value of market value added. This is the market value added. 75 lakhs is the market value added to a XYZ company. Okay, this is a solution for a problem in a corporate valuation. Next chapter I am going to portfolio management. The problem is the following information is available in respect of security X. Security X, equilibrium return given 15%, market return 15%, 7% treasury bond trading at $140, $140. Covariance of market return and security return 225. Coefficient of correlation 0.75. You are required to determine the standard deviation of market return and security return. You are required to determine the standard deviation of market return and security return. This is the output need to give. What is the output need to give? Standard deviation of market return and security return. Okay. For giving of standard deviation of market return and security return, what is the input is required? What is the input details is required? What is input details required? Here given the input details given here: equilibrium return 15%, market return 15, 7% treasury bond trading at $140, covariance of market return and security return 225, coefficient of correlation 0.7. Here what is relevant information and what is irrelevant information to get a output. Okay. Here under capital asset pricing model, under capital asset pricing model, what is the formula for giving of expected return? Risk-free return plus beta into return on market minus risk-free return. This is a form. When any element is missed out in this formula, suppose the return on risk-free return not given, suppose beta factor is not given, suppose return on market is not given, then that time we considered expected return is equal to required rate of return. We need to equal expected return equal to required rate of return. So here given equilibrium return, that is expected return 15, required rate of return risk free 7% treasury bond trading at $140, but we need to take yield to maturity. Suppose 7%, that is 7% on face value of 100 rupees, but currently trading at $140. So yield to maturity 7 by 140, that is yield to maturity 5%. This is we need to apply in place of risk-free rate of return, not 7%. Please remind this one. Okay, risk-free 5% plus beta factor we don't know, so we need to find out beta factor. Next, return on market given 15%, risk-free 5%. So 15 equal beta factor we got 1. We know beta for market always is equal to 1. When beta higher, the risk also higher. When beta is lower, then risk also lower. This is directly proportional. Risk can be shown in the form of beta. Beta is a risk of security. Okay, here we got beta equal 1. Then what is the output? Need to give standard deviation of market return and security return. So we can find out beta we can find out through using of 4 formulas. What do we find? Beta factor, but based on information, based on information. But given covariance of market return and security return, coefficient of correlation. So the formula can be used covariance of security and market return by variance of market. This is the formula need to apply for getting beta factor. Don't use other formulas, because the data given in the question, this is relevant to applying of this formula. So based on given information we need to apply the formula relevant to find out beta factor. So here coefficient of covariance of market return, security return 225 given. Variance of market, that is standard deviation of market return. We need to find out standard deviation of market return. Okay, so beta factor we got 1. So here now, due to calculation, variance of market equal 225. Next, standard deviation of market return, square of 225, that is 15. We got standard deviation of market return 15. The output what given in the output need to give 2 to 15. Standard deviation of market return we got 15. Another formula we know, standard deviation of security by standard deviation of market return into correlation r comma r open bracket s comma m. That is another formula for beta. Beta factor we know 1. So due to calculation, standard deviation of market, standard deviation of security 15 by 0.75. Standard deviation of security return 20. We got 20. This is the output. This is the solution for this problem. Next chapter I am going to mutual funds. The problem is there are 2 mutual funds, D mutual fund and K mutual fund, each having closed-ended equity schemes. We know closed-ended, open-ended. Open-ended schemes, closed-ended schemes. Open-ended schemes, that is there is no specific period. In case closed-ended, there is a certain period. There is a specified period. That is the difference between open-ended and closed-ended. Another one is mutual fund can have debt-oriented funds, equity-oriented funds. That is another one thing. Now, NAV as on 31st December 2014 of equity schemes of D mutual fund is 70.71, consisting 99% equity and remaining cash balance. and that of K mutual fund is 62.50, consisting 96% equity and balance in cash. Following further information. Sharpe ratio for equity schemes. Equity schemes, G mutual fund is one of the equity scheme, and K mutual fund. Okay, Sharpe ratio for D mutual fund 2, and for K mutual fund 3.3. Treynor ratio 15 for D mutual fund, 15, and also 15 to K mutual fund also same 15. Standard deviation for D mutual fund 11.25, 5 standard deviation 5 to K mutual fund. The information given, that one. There is no change in portfolios during the next month. Next month there is no change in portfolio. We know portfolio. The investor, why should investor invest in, why should investor follow portfolio? Because reducing risk. Portfolio nothing but invest in one risky security and one risk free security. Do diversify the risk. So here already we know traditional investment to alternative investment. Traditional investment, that is investment in bonds, debentures, cash, that is traditional investment. Alternative investments, investment in mutual funds, investment in equity funds, investment in mezzanine finance, investment in managed funds, investment in commodities. These are all alternative investments. Okay, right. Next, and annual average cost is 3 rupees per unit for the schemes of both the mutual funds. Annual average cost 3 rupees per unit. Okay. If share market goes down by 5% within a month, if share market goes down by 5% within a month, then calculate expected NAV after a month for the schemes of both the mutual funds. Here asking, what is the output here? Asking calculate expected NAV after a month for the schemes of both the mutual funds. Calculate expected NAV after a month. Okay. Now, right, expected NAV. First of all, what is input here given? NAV, so and so, NAV as on 31st December 2014, NAV given, and Sharpe ratio for D mutual fund, Treynor ratio for both schemes, and standard deviation both schemes, and annual average cost 3 rupees per unit, and 5 rupees 5% market down. This is the input. Here need to separate what is the relevant information, what is irrelevant. Okay, right. Now here 70.71 for D mutual fund. In that 99% equity, 1% cash. 70.71 into 99%, that is here calculator showing 70.0029. So please write 70. Remaining balance 0.71. 70 is, this is a equity. 0.71, that is cash. Same, this is D mutual fund. Next K mutual fund. Here given 62.50. Here 96% is equity, 4% cash. 96%, 62.50. How much? 96%, that is 60. So remaining 2.50, that is cash. Okay. Now next, here Sharpe ratio. We know evaluation of mutual fund for some models can used by mutual fund for evaluation of performance of that one, like Sharpe ratio, Treynor ratio, Jensen model, Farmer net selective model, Morningstar index model. These are all 5 models can apply for evaluation of performance of mutual fund compared with market. But here given Sharpe ratio, under Treynor ratio. Sharpe ratio given 2 for D mutual fund. The meaning Sharpe ratio 2, the risk. So the formula for Sharpe ratio, return on portfolio minus risk free rate per standard deviation. Okay, standard deviation. Return on portfolio minus risk free rate by standard deviation given 11.25. So return on portfolio minus risk free rate 2 into 11, due to calculation 2 into 11.25, that is 2 into 11.25, 22.5. This is return on portfolio minus risk free return, 22.50. Next, Treynor ratio. Treynor ratio given 15 for D mutual fund. The formula for Treynor ratio, return on portfolio minus risk free return by beta. Already we know, we got return on portfolio minus risk free. How much? 22.50. So due to calculation, 22.50 by 15. So beta factor, how much? 1.5. Beta factor, that is risk to mutual fund, risk to D mutual fund, how much? 1.5. This is 1. In case K mutual fund, under Sharpe ratio 3.33. Sharpe ratio or return on portfolio minus risk free return by standard deviation. So standard deviation given here for K mutual fund 5. So return on portfolio minus risk free rate, return 3.3 into 5, 16.5. Next, under Treynor ratio, return on portfolio minus risk free rate by beta. Here Treynor ratio 15. So due to calculation, beta factor equal 16 point by 15, 1.1. Here risk to K mutual fund 1.1. Here beta factor 1.1 for K mutual fund. Here beta factor to D mutual fund 1.5. Okay. Now next, annual average cost is 3 rupees per unit. So here you are asking output expected NAV after a month. You are asking, but we need to find out, we need to convert the annual information, annual cost information to month wise. So for year 3 rupees per unit, per month 3 by 12, that is 0.25. So we have cash in D mutual fund, how much? 0.71. So now we need to deduct 0.25. So remaining closing balance of cash 0.71 minus 0.25, 0.46 is there. And in case of K mutual fund, what is the existing balance of cash? 2.50. Now we need to deduct 0.25, the closing balance of cash 2.25. This is the cash balance. Okay. Next, here given, if share market goes down by 5% within a month, then if share market is reduced by 5%, but now mutual fund is affected or not affected, but the risk factor, risk to mutual fund for D mutual fund 1.5, that is 1.5 times. For K mutual fund 1.1. So if share market, in case of D mutual fund, what is the risk goes down? 5 into 1.5, that is 5 into 1.5, 7.5%. For K mutual fund 5 into 1.1, that is 5 into 1.1, 5.5%. So before the portfolio value, like equity 70, before 70 rupees per unit, now 7.5% need to deduct 70 into 7.5%, that is 5.25 need to be deducted from 70. Then closing value of equity 70 minus 5.25, that is 64.75. okay. Next, for K mutual fund, 60, before 60 is there, now need to deduct 5.60 minus 60 into 5.5%, 3.33. so 60 minus 3.33, so 56.5. this is equity. So now you're asking output expected NAV after a next month, after a month. So closing balance of cash 0.46 for D mutual fund. So total NAV 64.75 plus 0.46, that is 65.21 NAV per unit to D mutual fund, and same thing 56.7 plus 2.25, that is 58.95. this is the NAV for K mutual fund. This is the solution for this problem in mutual fund. Next, I am going the chapter bond valuation. Here the problem is Mr. A will need 1 lakh after 2 years, for which he wants to make one-time necessary investment now. He has a choice of 2 types of bonds, that is bond X, bond Y. Here given face value of bond X 1000, bond Y also 1000, coupon rate 7% payable annually for bond X and 8% for Y. Years to maturity here 1 year for bond X, 4 year for bond Y. Current price of bond X 972.73 and 936.52 for bond Y. Current yield 10% both. Advise Mr. A whether he should invest all his money in one type of bond or he should buy both of the bonds, and if so, in which quantity. Assume that there will not be any call risk or default risk. This is the question. Okay. Here, what is the output need to give? In the form of, we need to tell how many total amount invested in one type of bond or 2 types of bond. If so, how many bonds need to acquire? That is the output need to give. Okay. For here, what is the relevant information and what is not relevant information. Okay. Right. We know under the concept is bond immunization. Under the concept of bond immunization, portfolio duration need to equal to time for the investor. Time for the investor. Time for the investor. Okay. Portfolio duration equal to time for the investor. Here given time for the investor for Mr. A 2 years. We need to find out portfolio duration. Portfolio duration. Okay. Duration. When what is the critical, what we know, what are the critical points in bond valuation? When market yield increases, the bond value decreases. When market yield, the yield to maturity decreases, bond price increases. And also one thing, in case the duration for zero bond, the maturity for zero bond is equal to, always is equal to maturity of zero bond. The duration of zero bond is equal to maturity bond. Maturity period of zero bond is equal to duration. That is always equal. Okay. We need to find out duration first of all. Individual bond. Then we will find out portfolio duration. Now for bond X, what is the duration of bond X? What is the duration of bond X? Duration. That is a Macaulay, one person, the father of duration. That is Macaulay duration. So duration is a weighted average of present value of cash flows. Weighted average of present value of cash flows. That is the for present value of cash flows, that is the duration. Okay, weighted average present value of cash flows per present value of cash flows, that is the duration, that is the formula for duration. Okay, first for bond X, how many years? For getting maturity, 1 year. So Mr. A will receive 70 rupees interest for first year along with redemption value of 1000 rupees. So 1070 rupees. He'll do maturity 10%. So we need to apply 10% for discounting discounting. So 10% for 1 year, 0.909, that is 1070, 0.909, that is 972.63. 972.63. Suppose weight given 1. So weighted average present value cash flows 972.63. So duration 972.63 by present value of cash flow. Present value of cash flow so much? 972.63. So duration 1. Duration for bond X 1. Same thing for bond Y. Here years to maturity 4 years. So first year 1008% and 1080 rupees. Second year also 80 rupees. Third year also 80 rupees. Fourth year 80 along with 1000 rupees. So 1080 rupees. Next, discounting factor here also 10%, because yield to maturity here also given 10%. So 10%. So first year 0.909, second year 0.826, third year 0.751, fourth year 0.683. So 80 into 0.909, 72.72, 80 into 0.826, 66.08, 80 into 0.751, 60.08, 1080 into 0.683, that is 737.6. Total present value of cash flows how much? 60.08, 66.08, 72.72 plus 737.64, total 936.52. 936.52. We are already given current price, but we need to separate individually year wise. For getting weighted average of present value of cash flow. So that's why we need to calculated, already given in the question, but for that purpose we calculated. Okay, right now we give weight for first year 1, second year 2, third year 3, fourth year 4 along with 1000 also. Now 72.72 into 1, 72.72, 66.08, 2 years. So 132.16, 60.08 into 3, 180.24, 737.64 into 4, 2950.56. Total 72.72 plus 132.16, 180.24, 2950.56. Total amount 3335.68. This is weighted average cash flows, weighted average present value of cash flows. So duration, weighted average of present value of cash flows 3335.68 for 936.52. So 936.52. How much? 3. The character showing here 3.56178119. So we need to take 3.56. 3.56. This is 3.56 years. We know what we know. When duration, when we comparing with bonds, suppose bond X is preferable, bond Y is preferable. In case of duration point of view, where which duration of bond is lower, then we will prefer the lower of duration, because when we invest on bond X, we received amount within short period of time. And another one thing also, long position. Okay, long position, like longer of the duration, longer of bond, the longer of the bond, the benefit received from bond higher. When short period, no, that is okay, this is the duration. Now we calculate portfolio duration. Okay, portfolio duration for bond X 1 year, for bond Y 3.56. We don't know how much amount invested for bond X, so let X be the bond X amount, and remaining 1 minus X. Then we need to product 1 into X. X 3.56 minus 3.56 X. So under the concept of bond emission, portfolio duration is equal to time for the investor. So portfolio duration X, portfolio duration X plus 3.56 minus 3.56 X equal to. So due to calculation we got 3.56 minus 2, 3.56 minus 2, 3.56 X minus X, then 1.56 equal to 2.56 X, then X equal 1.56 by 2.56, 1.56 by 2.56, 0. X equal 0. The calculator showing here 0.609375. So we need to take 0.6094. 6094. Next 1 minus X, then remaining 1 minus 0.6094, 0.3906. This is the proportion of investment. Now 1 lakh, Mr. A need 1 lakh after 2 years, but now we calculated present 2 years before, that means present. So we need to convert future value amount to present value. So 10,000 present value factor, discounting factor 10% for 2 years, like 2 years, so 0.826. So 82,600 need to invest for getting 1 lakh. But how much amount invested in bond X, how much amount invested in bond Y, how many bonds acquired in bond X and bond Y. Okay, 82,600. So now 0. into 0.6094, 82,600 into 0.6094. So 50,336.44 the character showing, but we don't know showing the pieces. We don't give pieces in the form of pieces now. So that's why now we take 50,336 rupees amount. So remaining 82,600, 50,336, 82,600 minus 50,336. So remaining balance 32,264. Okay. We segregated for bond X how much amount, 50,336 amount, 32,264 for Y. But how many bonds? In case when we need to find out bond X, we have to pay for every bond 972 rupees, 972.73, 972.73. So 50,336 by 972.73. So how many? 51.747 the character showing. So we round up 52 bonds. Next, for getting of one bond of Y, we need to pay 936.52. So we have how much amount? 32,264 rupees. So 32,264 rupees by 936.52. How many bonds? 40 here showing 34.4509. So round up 34 bonds. Okay, the output is here asking how many quantity of bonds and how much we find out. Bond X, how many bonds need? 52 for bond Y, 34 bonds. This is the solution the problem in bond valuation. Okay. Okay, next I am going to the chapter interest rate risk management. Interest rate risk management. The problem is here XYZ INC issues here 10 million pounds floating rate loan on July 1st July 2013 with resetting of coupon rate every 6 months equal to LIBOR plus 50 basis points. 50 basis points. We know 100 basis points is equal to 1. So 50 basis points nothing but 0.5%. 100 basis points is equal to 1%. 50 basis points is equal to 0.5%. XYZ is interested in a collar strategy by selling a floor and buying a cap. XYZ is interested in a collar strategy by selling a floor and buying a cap. XYZ buys the 3 years cap and sell 3 years floor as per the following details on July 1st 2013. Okay, notional principal amount 10 millions, reference rate 6 months LIBOR, strike rate 4% for floor and 7% for cap. Strike rate nothing but exercise rate. Strike rate nothing but exercise rate. 4% for floor, 7% for cap. What is the meaning of this? 4% per floor. That is minimum rate of interest. That is minimum interest rate. 7% for cap. That is maximum interest rate. Suppose here the question resetting of coupon rate every 6 months equal to LIBOR plus 50 basis points is the question given. So every 6 months the company XYZ company reset the interest rate. So in such situations, when suppose the interest rate 3.75 will come, so that situation don't you take 3.75. Minimum we need to take 4%. Next another situation, suppose resetting interest rate 7.5 or 7.75. Don't you take 7.5% or 7.75 because our maximum interest rate 7%. So we need to take 7% only. Even though actual interest rate 7.5% is there, but you need to take only 7%. That is cap. Okay, right. Next, here premium 0. No. Using the following data, you are required to determine effective interest paid out at each reset date. Effective interest paid out. Next, sub question, second one. The average overall effective rate of interest per annum. Reset date. Here XYZ buys the 3 years cap and sell 3 years floor. 3 years. So first on 1st July 2013, the loan given by XYZ on 1st July. Okay, on 1st July 2013. Resetting date every 6 months company reset the interest rate. So reset date like 1st July. After 6 months 31st December 2013. Next 6 months 30th June 2014. Next 31st December 2014. Next after three years, you took 3 years, no, you took 3 years. So next 30th June 2015. Next 31st December 2015. Next 30th June 2016. 30th June 2016. Okay. Now here on reset date, the information given labor rates. Reset date 31st December 2013, that is a reset date. On 31st December 2013, labor rate 6% given, and 30th June 2014 7% given. 31st December 2014 5% given. 30th June 2015 3.75 given. 31st December 2015 3.25 given. 30th June 2016 4.25 given. Every reset date you add up 50 basis points per labor rate every reset date. So 31st December 2013, that is a 6 months reset date to 1st July 2013. So we need to add up 50 basis points. Then the revised interest rate on reset date 31st December 2013, what will get 6.5. So 6.5, 7.5, 7.6.5, 7.5. But cap rate, how much? Maximum interest rate 7%. Only we need to take only 7%. Don't take 7.5%. Same 31st December 2014 5.5%. 30th June 2015 3.75. 3.75 plus 0.50. So 4.25. 4.25. Okay, next 3.25. 3.25 plus 0.50. Here 31st December 2015 3.75, but our minimum interest rate 4%, so don't take 3.75. So here we need to take 4%. Next 4.25 plus 0.50, so 4.75. This is the reset interest rate. Next okay, we find out how much. Here asking output. What asked here? Effective interest paid out at each date. Effective interest paid out. So 10 million, that is 100 lakhs. 100 lakhs into 6.5% into for reset date 31st December 2013 from 1st July 2013. How many days? Here the factor any factor is given, like a year consists of 365 days. The question in question particularly given, assume here 365 days or 360 days. If not given, then whatever may be 360 days or 365 days you can consider, but here not given in the question, so that's why we need to take 365 days a year. So from 1st July, so how many days in July? 31st, August 31st, September 30, October 31st, November 30, December 31st. So how many days total? 184 days. 184 days 365. 184 days 365. So 100 lakhs. 100 lakhs into 6.5% into 184. 100 lakhs into 6.5% into 184 by 365 days. So how much amount? 3,27,000. 3,27,671. 3,27,671. Next, same on reset date 30th June 2014. So 100 lakhs 7% into 30th June 2014. From where from we need to take days? From 31st December. Already we considered 31st December in above. So from 1st January. So 31st January, 31st February. We need to, in case of the number of days in February, in case leap year 29 days, we need to take up 29 days In case non-leap year, we can consider 28 days. Whenever we calculate the number of days considered for February, need conscious. Be conscious. So now this is 2014. So this is not a leap year. So that's why we need to take 28 days for February. So on reset date 30th June 2014, January 31st, February 28, March 31st, April 30, May 31st, June 30. So how many days? 181. So 181 days. 181 days. 100 into 7% into 181 days by 365. Now 181 by 365. So how much amount? 3,47,123. Okay. Next 31st December 2014. Already before calculators, just for presentation, just keep no, don't you calculate again number of days. Already we calculated 31st December 2013. Same here, 31st December 2014, 184 days only. 100 lakhs into 5.5% into 184 days by 365. Then 100 into 5.5 percentage into 184 by 365. So 2,77,260. Okay. Next on 30th June 2015. Already we know 30th June 2014, 181 days. Here also 100 lakhs into 4.25 percentage into 181 by 365 days. So 100 into 4.25 percentage into 181 days by 365. So how much amount? 2,10,753. Next on 31st December 2015, same 100 lakhs into 4% into 184 days by 365. So 100 into 4% into 184 days by 365. How much amount? 2,01,644. Here the calculator showing 438. So we need to take 2,01,644. Next on 30th June 2016. 2016 is a leap year. So here the number of days changes. So in February we need to take 29 days. Then actually for already we calculated 181 days, but in 2016 the one day is added. So 182 days. So 100 lakhs into 4.75% into 182 days for 365. So 100 into 4.75 percentage into 182 by 365. So how much amount? 2,36,849. Then we add up total how much amount? 3,27,671 plus 3,47,123, 2,77,260 plus 2,10,753 plus 2,01,644 plus 2,36,849. Total amount 16,01,300. This is the interest payment. Here asking the output. What is here asking? Effective interest paid out at each reset date. We found out at each reset date on 31st December 2013 how much amount, 30th June 2014 how much amount, 31st December 2014 how much, 30th June 2015 how much, 31st December 2015 how much, 30th June 2016 how much. So total amount 16. Why should I add total? Why should not you leave it with individual amounts? Because you're asking second one what is the need to give output? Average, the average overall effective rate of interest per annum. So for that purpose we need add total amount. So now average overall effective rate of interest per annum. Okay, per annum. So so number of days, we need to add up number of days. So already on 31st December 2013 184. So 184, 181, 184, 181, 184, 182. So how many days? 184. 3 times 184. So 552. Next 181 2 times and another 182. So 544 plus 550. Total number of days 1096. Okay, 1096. Now 16 lakhs 1000, 16 lakh 1300, 300. 16 lakh 1300. How much amount given a loan? 100 lakhs. So for 100 lakhs, how much amount you paid? 16 lakhs 1000, 16 lakh 1300. So 100 lakhs. So 16 lakh 1300 by 100 lakhs. 0.16013 into 365 days. 16 lakhs 1300 for total 1096 days. So for 365 days. How much percentage we got? 5.33 percentage. 5.33 percentage. 5.33 percent. This is the solution for this problem. Average overall effective rate of interest per annum 5.33 percentage. Okay. Next chapter I'm going to consumer finance. Here the problem is a company is considering using a factor. The following information is relevant. The current average collection period for the company's debt is 80 days. 80 days. And 1/2, that is half percentage of debtors default. Disc of default of debtors half percentage. 1/2%. That is on total sales. The factor has agreed to pay over money due after 60 days and it will suffer the loss of any bad debts. Here given information, the factor has agreed to pay over money due after 60 days and it will suffer the loss of any bad debts. Well, we know already what we know. Factoring in the form of two ways: on maturity date and advance. On maturity date, nothing but factor pay the money on maturity date to the financial institution. On advance, here factor paid in advance to the financial institution. Okay, that is two ways. Next, recourse, non-recourse. We know recourse, non-recourse. Recourse means in case any bad debts happen, then factor will approach banks. Non-recourse, no. Every loss of bad debts bear by factor only. Non-recourse not given the facility. In recourse given. Okay, that is the difference. Next, the annual charge for the factoring is 2% of turnover payable annually in years. The commission paid to factoring how much? 2% on annual turnover. Annual administration cost saving will total 1 lakh per annum. 1 lakh per annum. Annual sales, all on credit are given. Annual sales, how much given here? 1 crore. Variable cost total 80% of sales price. Already we know what we know. Investment in debtors can calculated in the form of on total cost basis, on incremental cost basis, incremental nothing but variable cost basis, and total sales basis, on total sales basis. Here given variable cost, so we need to follow incremental basis approach. Next, the company's cost of borrowing is company's cost of capital. Company's cost of capital, that one also can we call opportunity cost, rate of return, that is 15%. Assume year consisting of 365 days. So here the factor given in the question, assume year consisting 365 days. Don't consider 360 days because the question given the number of days need to take for here 365 days. Next, here should the company enter into a forward factoring agreement? Should the company enter into a factoring agreement? We need to give the suggestion. We need to enter a factoring agreement or not, based on cost benefit analysis. When benefit is there, definitely sure you will take a factoring agreement. You enter with a factoring, or else don't consider. This is a simple calculation. What is the benefit will come to the company? What is the cost to the company? First of all, we need to calculate benefit. What is the benefit? Before taking a factoring, the collection period for a company 80 days. So total annual turnover 1 crore. 1 crore. Now investment in debtors, on we need to calculate on incremental basis, because here the question relevant information there. So 1 crore, that is 100 lakhs into 80% into 80 days for 365 days. So 100 into 80% into 80 by 365 days. So 17 lakh 53,424. That is 425. 17,53,425. Investment in debtors. Before taking off factoring. After taking off factor, because within 60 days factor will collect and pay the money within 60 days. For 60 days, how much amount invested? 100 lakhs into 80% into 60 by 365. 100 into 80% into 60 by 365. How much? 13 lakhs 15,068. So what is the net benefit, net investment in what is the net investment, or else decrease in investment in debtors? How much amount decreased? First, before taking factoring 17,53,420. Now 13,15,068. 13,15,068. 4,38,357. So decrease in investment in debtors. How much amount? 4,38,357. 4,38,357. So 4,38,357. Okay, that is a decrease in investment in debtors. Next benefit, average annual administration cost saving how much? 1 lakh per annum. That is the benefit. Another one, before approaching of factoring, of percentage risk of loss of debt. So 100 lakhs 0.5%. So how much amount? 100 lakhs 0.5%. 50,000. That is the benefit. Okay. 4,38,000. Here company's cost of capital, how much? Here given company's cost of capital 15%. When we invested 4,38,357 in at the cost of 15%, how much amount we got? 4,38,357. 15%. 65,753.55. So how much? For simply calculations, 65,753. So 65,754. Okay, 1 lakh plus 50,000 plus 65,754. Total amount 2,15,754. This is the benefit. This is the benefit received from factoring. When I taking factoring, total benefit this is. What is the cost to the company when taking of factoring? That is 2% commission need to pay to the factor on total sales. Total sales 100 lakhs. 100 lakhs 2% on 100 lakhs, that is 2 lakhs. So 2,15,754 is the benefit. Cost to the company 2 lakhs. So net benefit 15,754. So here net benefit to the company after taking factoring 15,754. So that's why we need to give the suggestion to the company. You can take factoring, you can enter factoring agreement. Okay, this is the solution to this problem in consumer finance. Next I am going to chapter derivatives. Derivatives. The problem is here. Here Prudential ICICS share price is now 60 rupees. 6 months hence it will be either 75 rupees, probability 70%, or 50 rupees with probability 30%. A call option exists on the share that can be exercised only at the end of 6 months at an exercise price of 65. What is the expected value of option price at the end of the period? This is the question. Okay, what is the output? Need to give expected value of option at the end of the period. At the end of the period here given 6 months. At the end of the 6 months period, what is the expected value of option? What is the expected value of option price? We need to find it. For getting up that output, what is the relevant and irrelevant information from question, and what we need to take up input information. So here we know binomial model, risk neutral model. Binomial model, first of all we calculate change in delta share, the value of delta share, and then after future value of riskless portfolio, and then after present value of riskless portfolio, and next present value of delta share, next value of call option. Value of call option, difference of present value of riskless portfolio minus present value of delta share. Then that the amount what we got, that is the value of call option, present value of call option, that is the value of call option. Now in risk neutral model, we assigned probabilities. Based on probabilities, we calculated future value of option price for riskless portfolio, and then present value of riskless value of portfolio we calculated. Here the information given, exercise price, strike price, exercise price can call strike price. How much given? Strike price 65. So what is the actual exercise price? What is the actual price? 75 first case. Second 50 rupees. Okay, when call holder when exercise, when call holder strike price less than actual price, then call holder can exercise the option. When strike price or exercise price not less than actual price, don't exercise, then it is lapse. So here first case, strike price is 65, actual price 75. So here strike price is less than actual price, then the action taken by call holder, exercise. Second situation, strike price is 65 but actual price 50, so call holder not exercise, so it is lapse. So what is the value to the call holder? In first case 10 rupees, second case 0. Here probability is given. What probability is given? First case 70%, second case 30%, so 7 rupees. Here the in binomial model lot of steps. first step 1, step 2, step 3. Same risk neutral model also stepwise we find out to get a value of option. But here here in the question only one component given, one component in those 5 steps, or else in risk neutral model only one step we need to find out. So that's why here future value of riskless portfolio find out 7 rupees. 7. Here asked the output is also asked here also same expected value of option at the end of period. So you find out 7. This is the solution for this problem. Okay, right. The next chapter I am going to foreign exchange exposure and risk management. Okay, the problem is here Columbus Surgical Inc., that is Columbus Surgical Company, is based in US company, has recently imported surgical raw materials from the UK and has been invoiced for 4,80,000 pounds payable in 3 months. It has also exported surgical goods to India and France. The Indian customer has been invoiced for 1,38,000 pounds payable in 3 months. So net amount need to paid by the surgical company, Columbus Surgical Company, to UK company how much? 4,80,000, because from Indian customer is a India is a customer to the US company. So US need to pay UK company, UK, that is UK. So net amount, how much amount you need to pay? 4,80,000 minus 1,38,000. So 3,42,000 funds. 3,42,000 pounds. Okay. Next, the question. And the France and the French and okay. And the French customer has been invoiced for 5,90,000 euros payable in 4 months. Current spot and forward rates are as follows. What given? Found for US dollar spot 0.9830 dash 0.9850. This is a two-way quote. We know, suppose 70 rupees for US dollar, that is one-way quote. But in case 0.9830 dash 0.9850, this is a two-way quote. So two-way quote found for US dollar, that is spot 0.9830 dash 0.9850, that is spot rate, and for 3 months forward rate 0.9520 dash 0.9545. This is bid and ask. The two-way quote can be expressed in the form of bid and ask. Bid is buy rate, buy. Ask rate, that is sell rate. Okay. Next, US dollar for euro. Spot rate here given 1.8890 dash 1.8920. 4 months forward. Here 4 months forward. Forward rate 1.9510 dash 1.9540. Here next, current money market rates are as follows. We know money market interest rates, money market instruments. What we know, money market instruments, that is commercial paper, that is one of the money market instrument. American depository receipt, global depository receipt. Here not here, that is money market instrument. Now here given current money market rates in UK 10% dash 12% per annum. What is the meaning of 10%, 12%? When we deposit in UK country, when we deposit, we will receive 10% interest. In case we borrow from UK, in UK 12%. Same France, when we deposit in France, 14% deposit rate. In case borrow 16% per annum, will charge the interest. Same USA. In USA, when deposited in USA 11.5% we received interest. or we can when we borrow, then 13% per annum. This is the meaning of for this one. So think in this like we are now our home currency US. So our dollar, our home currency dollar. Think this like, okay. Now US treasury manager are required to show how the company can hedge its foreign exchange exposure using forward markets and money markets hedge, and suggest which is the best hedging technique is, and suggest which is the best hedging technique is. This is the question, okay. From this question, what is the output? Need to give suggestion. Foreign exchange exposure, which is preferable in forward market is preferable, or money market hedging is preferable. Hedging means risk, to reduce the risk. For reducing the risk, we need to follow hedging techniques. So here forward hedging technique, one is one of the technique, another one is money market hedging technique, that is another one technique. So we need, first of all, we need here, that is the case, that is the first case. Here two cases is there. What is the payable case, that is another one is receivable case. Payable, in case payable, what will do? In case receivable, what will do? In case payable, we find out under forward and money market, then we will give the suggestion which is preferable, which technique is preferable. In case receivable, we can calculate forward and and money market hedging. Here also we will tell which technique is preferable. Now first under forward hedging technique, first of all we need to calculate under forward hedging. First of all, net amount, how much amount need to pay? 3,42,000 pounds. 3,42,000 pounds. For here given dollar for US dollar, pound for US dollar, here given pound for US dollar. So this is indirect quote to, this is indirect quote to US company. We need to convert direct quote. We need to convert direct quote. Okay. Now our position, buy pounds. Why should I buy pounds? Because we need to pay in the form of pounds to the UK company. So that's why we need to buy pounds. This is reflected to bank as sell funds. So forward ask of funds per dollar. Here we don't know dollar for pound. This is indirect, so we need convert 1 by bid of dollar for pound. What is the bid rate here? 0.9520. okay, 1 by 0.9520, that is 1.0504. okay. When we express the way quotes, we need to take up to 4 decimal points. Suppose here the calculator showing 1.0504 1.0504201686, then we need to take only up to 4 decimal points, like 1.0504, that is enough. Okay, 1.0504. Next, 3,42,000 into 1.0504. How much? 3,42,000, 1.0504. So how much amount? 3,59,236.8. So $236.8 need to pay. Under this is under forward hedging. Under forward hedging technique. Now need to calculate under money market hedging. Money market hedging. Okay. Now under money market hedging, in case payable, borrow in home currency and deposit in foreign currency. In case of payables. In case of receivables, borrow in foreign currency and deposit in home currency. In case of receivables, under money market hedging. Okay. Let foreign currency borrowing suppose 100. So how much interest need to in UK deposit 10% for 3 months. So 100 into 10% into 3 months. So 2.5. So 102.5. 102.5. This 102.5 is equal to 3,42,000. 3,42,000 pounds. But for 100 foreign currency, how much? 3,42,000 100 by 102.5. This is 3,33,658.53. That is 536. So 54 pounds. 54 pounds. Okay. So 3,33,658.50 pounds need to deposit in UK. But how much amount borrowed from you in home currency? We need to convert 3,33,658.54. Okay, now. Okay, here 3,33,658.54. Now spot, because here we need to buy funds found. Our position funds, but reflect to banker, that is sell. So spot ask of found for dollar equal to, because the data given is not that is a direct quote. So 1 by bid of dollar for dollar for ask, dollar for right, found for dollar. Now dollar for spot ask of dollar for found, that is 1 by bid of found for dollar. Found for dollar here given 0.9830. 1.0.9830. 1 by 0.9830. How much? 1.01729. So 729. So 73. 1.0173 we need to take. Then 3,33,658.54. So round up 3,33,659. 3,33,659 into 1.0173. So total how much amount? Total how much amount? 3,39,431. So next, this is need to borrow from home currency, but interest also will come. How much interest here given? USA for borrowing 13%. So 3,39,431. 3,39,431. So how much charge interest for 3,39,431? 13% for 3 months. 3,39,431 into 13% into by 3 for 3 months. 11,031. 11,031. So total how much amount? 3,39,431 plus 11,031. Total amount $3,50,462. Under forward hedging, per payables how much amount? 3,59,236.8. But now 3,50,462. So based on this one, money market hedging is preferable for payables, because under forward hedging 3,59,236.8 we need to pay, but here only 3,50,462. So 9,000 balance saved. So under money market hedging is the preferable. Okay. Receivables, here 5,90,000 euros. This is a receivable. This is the invoice amount 5,90,000 euros from France. French. Okay. Here US dollar for French. So here given direct code. So need not convert any to indirect code. This is the direct code. Okay. First of all, under forward hedging technique. 5,90,000 euros. Here sell 5,90,000 euros. Our position sell euros. Banker's position buy euros. So forward bid of euro for dollar. Sorry, dollar for euro. Forward bid of dollar for euro. How much? $1.9510. Then 5,90,000 euros into 1.9510. How much? 5,90,000 1.9510. $11,51,090. Okay, $90. This is under forward hedging technique. Now money market hedging technique. Under money market hedging, already we know for receivables we need to borrow in foreign currency and deposit in home currency. Let foreign currency borrowing 100. So how much amount? Charge interest 16% for 4 months. So 100 into 16% into 4 months. 100 into 16% into 4 months. So 5.33. So 105.33. So 105.33. This is equal to 5,90,000 euros. So for 100, how much? 105.33. 5,60,144.30. 5,60,144.30. So here showing 308. So you will take 560,144.30. 31 euros. 5,60,144.31 euros. So now we need to convert in dollars. So our position, sell euros. Banker's position, buy. So spot bid of euros per dollar. euros per, sorry, dollars per euro, dollars per euro. Spot bid of dollars per euro 1.8890 into 5,60,144. Here 5,60,144.31. Then you need take 5,60,144 for round off. 5,60,144 into 1.8890. 10 lakhs 58,000. 10,58,112. 10,58,112. This is the amount need to deposit in home currency. How much amount you will give interest and deposit for 4 months? 11.5%. 10,58,112 into 11.5% into 4 months. So how much amount? 40,560. 560.96. So round up 40,561. So total amount 10,58,112 plus 40,561. Total 10,98,673. This is inflows. Under forward hedging, total 11,51,090 rupees. But under money market hedging, so in this situation, forward hedging technique is preferable because here extra amount got by the company 11,51,090 comparing. Okay, this is the solution for this problem under forward exchange, foreign exchange exposure and risk management chapter. Okay, next chapter I am going that is a miscellaneous chapter. Here the problem is Bank A enters into a repo for 14 days with Bank B in 12% Government of India bonds 2017 at a rate of 5.25% for 5 crore. Okay, here the repo, we know repo transaction, reverse repo transaction. Repo means repurchase. Repo means repurchase. This is from borrower's point of view. Reverse repo transaction, that is lender's point of view. Okay, now assuming that the clean price be 99.42. we know clean price, dirty price. Clean price means without considering of accrued interest. Dirty price with consideration of accrued interest. That is dirty price. Okay, now here initial margin be 2%. Initial margin be 2% and days of accrued interest be 292. You are required to determine dirty price. That is one of the one question. Another one is start proceeds. That is first leg. Start proceeds, that is indirectly can be called borrowing. Next, repayment at maturity, that is second leg. Okay, no, here given note. What is here given? Assume number of days in a year as 360. So don't consider 365 days. Here given in the question particularly 360 days. So we need to take only 360 days for a year. Okay, right. Now the output, what we need to give output: dirty price, start proceeds, that is borrowing, how much borrowing, and how much repay at maturity time. Okay, what is the relevant information and what is irrelevant information we need to find out in the question, and then further we proceed to get the output. Okay, right. Now clean price 99.42. For dirty price, clean price plus accrued interest. Here 12% Government of India bonds rate 5 crores. 5 crores nothing but 500 lakhs. 500 lakhs. We need to calculate in lakhs. Okay, 500 lakhs. 3 plus 99.42. So assume face value 100 rupees. So 12% rate, yield rate 12%. Accrued interest for 292 days. So 292 by 365 days. So 100 into 12% into 292 days by 365 days. How much amount? 9.6. 9.6 plus 99.42, that is 109.02. For face value of 100, how much amount of 12% India government bonds? 500 lakhs. So for the value of dirty price 109.02. 109.02 into 500 lakhs by 100, that is 545.10. 545.10. Here initial margin, how much amount? 2% charged. So we need to deduct 2% from 545.10. So 10.90 here came. So 10.90. 545.10 minus 10.90. So 534.20. This is the borrowings. This is the net borrowings amount. We find out the output, that is one is the dirty price we calculated. Another one is start process first leg, that is borrowings. Now we calculated 534.20 lakhs, that is the borrowings. Next we need to give a output repayment at maturity. Repayment, repo means repurchase for 14 days. Okay, at 5.25%. So 534.20 into 5.25% into for 14 days. So 365. 534.20 into 5.25% into 534.20 into 5.25% into 14 by 365 days. How much? 1.075. So this is interest amount. We need to add up interest because we repurchase. So 534.20 plus 1.0757. So how much amount? 535.27. 535.27. This is the repayment of on maturity date. 535.27, that is 535 lakhs 27,000 amount. Okay, this is repayment at maturity. This is a solution in for this problem in miscellaneous topics. Okay, right. Okay, please subscribe my channel, like it, comment and share it. Please stay tuned on my channel. Thank you.